Amen. For a couple of days now, we have been looking into the subject of Islam, the role of Islam at the end of the world. And today, I want us to look at the story of Balaam and Acts 27, how Balaam is related to Acts 27. And as usual, before I begin this line, we are going to take the shortest time possible. It's not just a long narrative. And we are going just to review this line for the last time, because tomorrow we are going to enter into Luke chapter 21. We're going to look also to track the subject of Islam in that history. And we'll be looking at the Syrian War, the Arab Spring Revolution that began in 2011, as we try to look the nature of Islam in 2021. So before we look at Numbers 22, when we talk about Balaam, we are talking about Numbers 22 and how it's really connected to Acts 27. We're going to get our story from Acts 27 and connect it with Numbers 22. So as we began looking at this subject, we went to Revelation 9, which gives us the basic understanding of what Islam is. And after looking this story as our natural, we are called to look at the spiritual application. This becomes our natural story, and this one becomes spiritual. So the natural, or rather the known, help us to understand the unknown. And by compare and contrast these two waymarks, it gives us more detail. 606 AD to 627, it gives us more detail from 1989 onwards. So I just want to do a recap of what we did, because I want to do this line again in this presentation. So we said in 606 AD, that is Revelation 9 verse 1, the falling of the star. And when the star fall, the Bible says, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And we realized that the star is repeated and large in the word what? Him. Him is a pronoun, so it's an individual. And we realized when we were looking at the line of the birth of Islam, when we went to Genesis chapter 16, we see Ishmael connected to the east. He was sent to the land of Paran. So we track the rise of Muhammad. So when you come to Revelation chapter 9, we have the falling of the star, and that is Muhammad. A star is a symbol of a minister, and it can be a good minister or a bad minister based on the context you want to look into. So in this line, he is a bad minister. He began to propagate and to champion false religion. So we have the key, and we say the key, it was a battle that was fought in 627 AD. That is the Battle of Nineveh. The Battle of Nineveh between Persia and Rome on the eastern side. And we say Persia, by this time it was very strong under the guardianship of Khosrow II. So Khosrow is more powerful here, and one of the citizens from Arabia sent a letter to Khosrow requiring him to recognize Muhammad as a prophet. But Khosrow II did not acknowledge that letter. Rather, he tore it and sent the ambassador back. And what Muhammad did, he exclaimed and said, okay, because you have rejected the recognition of me as a prophet, I'm going to make a prediction that in few years to come, Persia is going to fall, and later Rome also is going to fall. So these two powers, Persia and Rome, they were two antagonistic powers that were preventing the rise of Muhammad. So when they met in the Battle of Nineveh, Persia really, they were depleted, it lose its strength. Even Rome, it lose its strength. So when this power really became weak, it gave a leeway for Muhammad to rise. And that is the key that was given to Muhammad. So that battle was fought in Nineveh. You cannot disconnect 606 AD and 627. You have to run a story from this side up to here. So that is the key that unlocked the rise of Islam. So what I want us to understand basically in this history, it is two paths that paved way for the rise of Mahomet. So when we come here, we saw an injunction given to Islam, not to hurt, not kill, but to torment and hurt men. For how long? 150 years, or rather 5 months. So that is the injunction that was given Islam in the first war. And our burden was to recognize, or rather the beginning of the 150 years in the first war. And we track that history, that after the death of Mahomet in 632 AD, he was succeeded by another caliph called Abu Bakr. And Abu Bakr, when he ascended the seat of Mahomet, he had this worldwide ambition to establish what? An Islamic kingdom. That was his idea. And he's really connected, Revelation 9 verse 4 and 5, that is the injunction that they should only hurt those men who don't have the seal of God. And those who have the seal of God, they should not be hurt. So that was the injunction that Abu Bakr is going to command his adherents, called who? The locust. And we say the locust from the book of Acts, chapter 30, the book of Proverbs, chapter 30, verse 27, that the locusts have no king, but they go all by bands. So the rise of Islam at the beginning, they did not have a king, rather they had a false prophet. So after the death of Abu Bakr, he was succeeded by many caliphs who had the same mind to establish an Islamic kingdom, empire. And one of those who did that noble work of establishing our kingdom was Ottoman. Ottoman, to establish an empire, in July 27, 1299, he began that career of establishing an Ottoman Empire by invading Nicomedia. Nicomedia was just next to Greece. And remember, Greece, as I said earlier, it was still under the jurisdiction of who? Constantinople. And what was Constantinople? Constantinople, that's where the seat of the empire was based after Constantine took the seat from Rome and took it where? In the east. So July 27, when Ottoman invades Nicomedia, that marks the beginning of 150 years, which will take us from July 27, 1299 to 1449 of July 27. So in 1449, we saw that after many years, of course, we have many empires, we have many sultans, and one of the sultans at this time is Amurath. And Amurath is more powerful in the east. And in Greece Empire, we have one of the kings is called John Palaeologus. John Palaeologus is going to die, and he doesn't have a son to inherit the throne. So what he does, there's another individual called Constantine Dicoses. So what Constantine Dicoses does, he recognized the presence of Amurath, the Sultan. So what he does, before he ascended the throne, he requests permission from Amurath that before I ascend Greece Empire, I need your permission to rule there. So there's going to be a treaty. They're going to have this voluntary surrender of Constantine Dicoses to Amurath. So Amurath is going to allow Constantine to reign. So here you can say there's a treaty, there's a voluntary surrender of one individual to another, from Constantine to Dicoses. But after the death of Amurath in 1451, he's going to be succeeded by another individual called Mahomet II. And Mahomet II is a very individual character, because when you say Mahomet II, you must have Mahomet I. And that Mahomet was Mahomet, the star of Revelation 9 verse 1. So Mahomet is going to break this treaty that was made between Amurath and Constantine Dicoses, that Amurath should not invade Constantinople. He should not do that. But here, when Mahomet II comes, he's going to plan to attack Constantinople. He's going to break this agreement that Amurath and Constantine Dicoses had entered into. So in this period, Mahomet II is going to make a thorough preparation. I was reminded that when you talk about canons, the canons were there before. But what Mahomet II is going to do some some advancement of this canon. He's going just to make it more sophisticated in order to allow him to bring down the wall of Constantinople. So that is the thorough preparation that Mahomet too is going to make. So in 1453, we have Mahomet too is going to invade Constantinople, and they're going to bring it down. And when he brought it down, what we identify from the book A Story from the Seers of Patmos, page 164, paragraph 2, is that the light of Reformation went forward. The Christians who were actually carrying the work of reform, they were given an impetus to do that work. Another thing, the invasion of Constantinople really shocked the world. Europe was shocked how Constantinople was brought down. That's what really happened in this history of 1453. And remember, July 27, 1449 marks the beginning of 391 years, 15 days. So that's what we have, which brings us to 11 August 1840, where we have the restraint, or rather the fall of Ottoman Empire. Which was connected to Turkey. So, at the beginning of the 391 years, 15 days, we have a voluntary surrender. At the end of the 391 years, 15 days, we also have a voluntary surrender where we have 4 European nations, that is Christian nation. We have Russia, Prussia, England, and I believe Austria. Is it Austria? Okay, thank you. So these are the Christian power, whereby how they put an ultimatum between Muhammad Ali, Pasha of Egypt, and Turkey, because they had these conflict tensions, and these people mostly they had this personal interest more so to the strategic position of Turkey. Egypt and Turkey, they were engaging in a continuous battle, and when you look at the geography of Turkey, they are really connected to the Persian Gulf, where there is really where there is oil. So this Christian nation also, they want to benefit from this oil, and the only way they can do that, they must have a good relation with who? Turkey. So what they do, because Muhammad Ali is really trying to invade Turkey is going to seek, remember Turkey is an Islamic nation, so what they are going to do, they are going to seek, they want to seek assistance in order to end this chaotic that is going on, this chaos that is going on between Turkey and Egypt. So these 4 European powers, they are going to put an ultimatum. An ultimatum really is just conditions, and Turkey is going to surrender is going to give its allegiance to these 4 European Christian nations, in that if Egypt is going to misbehave, it is them who are going to act on behalf of who? Of Turkey. So that is what was happening in this history. And we say that Islam is restrained, or rather the fall of Ottoman Empire here. What is happening really is, it was not just a little war that is happening, but when we say that it's that Turkey, or rather Ottoman Empire, they are going to lose their independence to whom? To these 4 Christian nations. So that is basically what was happening, and I recommended that we go and read Josiah Leach is going to explain how Ottoman Empire, or rather Turkey, is going to lose its independence in that year, 11 August 1840, a prediction that was made in 1838. So when we came to make an application, we come to this history. This becomes a natural story. This becomes a spiritual. But just to remind us, in these 150 years, we have what we call the Islamic State. The successors of Abu Bakr, they are going to continue this idea of making an Islamic kingdom. And during this period, they engage in many wars as a scourge against the apostate church, that is the religion of Rome. And what we look at this history is that they are going to say that this battle that we are fighting is a war, is a holy war. So they are going to use religion as an excuse to torment, or rather to be very, very more chronic. They are going to have this fanatical movement, or rather fanatical war, that we are fighting the battle of the Lord. So whatever they are doing, for them to secure paradise, they have to shed blood. So that is the idea that they were having in this history. So when you come to this line, we want to look at how Islam was rising here and how it was rising here. So before 606 AD, war, disagreements between Persia and Rome, it was really a vocation. They were trying to outdo each other. So we must have the same premise when we come to this line. Prior to 1989, we have a 10-year period that brings us to 1979. And 1979 is a very significant year. We have a lot of things happening, be it rise of moral majority. You can mark it 1979. But in 1979, we have what we call the Iran Revolution. It was, when you go to internet, you try to look at what Iran Revolution really was. It was like a pro-democracy movement by the Islamists who wanted to restructure the Iran government. But at the same time also, we have Iran and Iraq having tensions amongst themselves. And this is what we mark the Soviet also, the 10-year Soviet-Afghan war. And this was a proxy war. We have the Afghan government, and also we have within it, we have the rebels called the Mujahideen. And the powers that are going to engage in this battle, they are the United States of America and Soviet Union, what we have Russia as the head. So United States and America, they are going to be a very key player who are going to influence, or rather going to be engaged in this war. So we have the United States of America. And as Iran is going to be backed by Russia, and also at the same time Russia is engaging in the Afghan war. So we also have Iraq, who is going to be backed up by United States of America, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia throughout this history. So remember, the Afghan war, it has been orchestrated by different factions. We have the people called the rebels in Afghan, they are called the Mujahideen. And we have the Afghan government who are backed by Russia. So there's going to have a 10-year conflict which is going to end in 1989. But in this period, while Iraq and also is going having a war with Iran, Kuwait and Saudi Arabia, they are going to help Iraq in terms of finance to aid Iraq to overcome, or rather to outdo Iran. So after the end of this 10-year period, we know that from other presentation we have the fall of Berlin Wall, November 9, the fall of Berlin Wall, which was a symbol that separated Eastern Europe from the Western Europe. And on the eastern side, we have Russia taking charge of it. And on the western side, we have United States of America with its spheres of influence. So what really brought down the Berlin Wall, there are many things which orchestrated the fall of Berlin Wall. And in 1989, for example, in Hong Kong, we have this revolution, a pro-democracy revolution in what we call the Tiananmen Square. I think there is a documentary produced by Frontline. It's called The Tankman. You just go and watch that one. Tankman. This incident really inspired the eastern side of Europe to orchestrate, or rather to bring down the wall. They will say if these people, they were trying to bring down the government, even them, they are going to do that. So it's a very good film. It's called The Tankman. So what I want us to identify that in 1989, we are going to have tension between Iraq and Kuwait. But don't forget the two antagonists, that is Russia and United States of America. So in 1989, we are going to have tension between Iraq and Kuwait. And what is about all this tension? This tension, Kuwait is going to ask Iraq to pay back what they have been supported with during this war between Iraq and Iran. And Iraq is going to say, hey, listen, this battle, it was not given for Iraq alone. We were supporting each other to overcome our enemies. So why are you demanding us to pay back? So Iraq is not going to do that. And remember, in 1979 also, we have the rise of Saddam Hussein. So this is the rise of Saddam Hussein. So in this history, Saddam is not going to listen to the pledge that Kuwait is giving in. So as they're having these tensions escalating between Iraq and Kuwait, in 1990, we are going to have Iraq invading Kuwait. So this is 1990. Iraq is going to invade Kuwait. And when it's going to invade Kuwait, instead of these two powers trying to solve this issue, America is going to take a very bad step. It's going now to try to counter what Iraq was doing. So it's trying to invade Iraq. And other nations, including the UN, including also the Russians, they are going to say, no, don't interfere with the issue between Iraq and Kuwait. But America is not going to listen. So what happened, remember this time we have a new president, that is George Bush Senior. He's the president by this time from 1989. So what happened when Iraq invades Kuwait, he is going to make a very big mistake and is going to invade who? Iraq in 1991. Instead of solving this issue, United States of America, under the administration of George Bush, they are going to take this excuse saying that, you see, we have brought down the Soviets, who were our greatest enemy, and we are not going to have another inferior enemies that is going to counter our influence. So they are going to use this excuse to invade who? Iraq, which was wrong. They were to find a peaceful way to solve this issue between Iraq and Kuwait, because prior to 1989 also United States was backing up Iraq, but you see from this time on they begin to misbehave. And when they invaded Iraq in 1991, and also 1991 is also a very important waymark. We have the dissolution of the Soviet Union. So when the United States of America really invade Iraq, they are going to cause the rise of some other terrorist group called the Taliban, or rather the Al-Qaeda. So the United States of America, from its inception, they are the one who are causing problems. And you can really see from the book of Acts 27, this is where we mark the bad sheep. And what is this bad sheep? The sheep of Adramitium. And what is this sheep of Adramitium? United States of America. It's a bad sheep. So you can see how America begins to misbehave right from the beginning, right from 1989. And this is how it begins to misbehave. Wanting to act unilateralism, to be a dictator. They don't want to cooperate with other nations. They don't want globalism. And this is the first step they did. And I'm saying they are the one who created what? The Taliban and Al-Qaeda, because how they behave in invading Iraq, where Saddam Hussein was. So from the line of World War I, when you look at World War I, we have the Bosnia crisis. What will we equate the Taliban or Al-Qaeda? There is a terrorist group that was made after Austria-Hungary invaded Serbia. The Black Hand. So you can really mark with these the Taliban or Al-Qaeda. So this is the reason I wanted us to compare and contrast these two waymarks. We have Persia and Rome, who led to the rise of Islam. So in this history, we also have tension between Russia and United States of America, but it's really United States of America which is going to cause, or rather make, the rise of a radical terrorist group called the Taliban, or who later identify themselves as Al-Qaeda. Now, when you come to July 27, 1299, we have the first attempt by the Ottoman Empire by invading Nicomedia in July 27, 1299, which marks the beginning of the 150 years. So if we are to compare and contrast these two waymarks, we need also to see an inversion that is made in this waymark. And this inversion is the attack of the American land on September 11, 2001 by this same radical group that was created here. And they brought down the World Trade Center in the wake on Tuesday of September 11, 2001. So the invasion of Nicomedia by Ottoman marks the arrival of this radical Islam in 2001, September 11, when the World Trade Center was brought down, these twin towers. So if you look at this waymark, after the invasion of Nicomedia, we have 150 years, and they were asked not to kill or to torment. And remember, one of the fascinating things that you can look in this history is that they were trying now to establish an Islamic empire, kingdom. And how they did that is that they were saying, remember, as we fight, Abu Bakr told them here, and all his successors, they are going to maintain that spirit that this is the battle of the Lord. For you to secure paradise, you have to cause bloodshed. So that's what Abu Bakr was telling them. And we have to look out how this history looked like. In 2003, because it is really United States of America who was causing this problem, how they behave to other nations, it's going to reflect onto themselves. So in 2003, after the wake of 2001, United States of America is going to invade who? Iraq. And when they invade Iraq, we are going to have some very individuals. And this individual, we have Saddam Hussein. We are going to remain with him. Saddam Hussein. Remember, he's saying he's from Iraq. And you know Iraq is a sphere of influence of which power? Russia. We're also going to have another individual called, is this man, Bin Laden. But I want to identify a very chronic individual who is going to behave like these successors of Abu Bakr and Muhammad. And this individual is called Abu Musab al-Zarqawi. So Abu Musab al-Zarqawi in 2003 is not going to have good relation with these two individuals. So it's going to be very, very chronic, and his idea, he wants to establish Islamic kingdom. That was his mind. He wants to form Islamic state. And when you track his route, he's going to attack. Mossad is going to organize terrorist group in Syria and in Iraq. Now that they don't have good relation with these people, and he's seeing what United States of America is behaving. And in 2003, there is a UN Council. And in that UN Council, we're going to have representatives from the United States of America who are going to attend. And their main focus is to invade Iraq because of what had happened in 2001. They are still trying to bring down this terrorist group. But the problem that United States of America is doing here, instead of looking at these rebels, the Al-Qaeda, to them, they want to attack Iraq as a nation. That is the problem they were trying to do. And other nations like Russia, Germany, and Britain, when you look at the world, the line of World War I, this is where we mark an ultimatum. The United States of America is not going to listen to them. So instead of dealing with the rebels, they want to just invade Iraq. What about those innocent people in Iraq who did not even participate in this terrorist group? That is the concern that Russia and even the UN in general, they were asking the United States of America, but they are going to misbehave under the administration of George Bush Jr. But when you look at Abu Musab al-Zarqawi, and I want to recommend us, there is a full film from Frontline. Frontline is a good source. It's a good source where it gives us good stream of information. There is a documentary is called The Secret Rise of ISIS. The Secret Rise of ISIS, how ISIS was created, you can track it right from 2001. They're going to give you a very good history until 2014 and how Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, they came into history. So if we compare this history, the Islamic State being formed, you can really connect them with Zarqawi. So Zarqawi is going to do a lot of issues in Iraq, in Syria, is going to do a lot of damaging issue. And in 2006, Zarqawi is going to be killed by the United States of America. They're going to bomb his territory in Iraq. They're going to do that. But in 2010, remember Zarqawi had this mind of forming an Islamic State. He's the one who was coming up with this issue of trying to come up with ISIS. Of course, you can mark from 1989 the Taliban and Al-Qaeda having this ambition to form an Islamic kingdom. But now Zarqawi is going now to come up with a strategic plan to form ISIS. So when Zarqawi dies in 2006, he's going to be succeeded by another individual called who? In 2010, he's going to be succeeded by Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, who was killed recently by Trump administration. So Zarqawi is going to continue with the work. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is going to continue with the work of who? Zarqawi. Is going to behave badly. And if you want to see how Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi behaved, he's going to take an advantage of the Arab Spring War that began, Arab Spring Revolution that began in 2011 in Syria. Remember, Syria and Iraq, they are close together. Just like Kenya and Uganda, we share a border. So Abu Bakr, when the Arab Spring Revolution, the pro-democracy movement began in Arab countries, in Muslim countries, be it Libya, all those Muslim countries, Abu Bakr is going to take an advantage. And he's going now, when people are protesting, he begin, sending his adherents, putting bombs everywhere, doing a lot of damages in those Muslim countries. And in 2014, Abu Bakr is going to invade most cities in Iraq, and one of the second largest cities in Iraq is called Mosul. And when Abu Bakr captures Mosul, he's going to enter into the the mosque. And on July 4th, that's what he's going to do. He's going to identify himself as what? A caliph. He's going to say, now we have established an Islamic kingdom, and I am the caliph. So that's what Abu Bakr did. And you can see, if we bring July 27, 1299 to this history, you can see what is happening in this history between Zarqawi and Abu Bakr. Together also these other individuals, Saddam Hussein and Bin Laden. At the beginning of 2003, Saddam and Bin Laden did not have good personal relation with Zarqawi, because Zarqawi was more, he was more radical. And Bin Laden and Saddam, they're going to ask Zarqawi, hey, why are you attacking our fellow Muslims? Stop attacking them. Because in Iraq, we have different kind of Muslim tribes. We have the Sunnis, the Shias, most of them. So Zarqawi, to him, if he identifies that you are a rebel, you don't join them, he's going to attack your fellow Muslim. So this one is going to say, okay, don't do that, please. Remember, Abu Bakr, when you read story from the Sea of Patmos, what did Abu Bakr tell his adherents? Please let us have what? unity. Don't attack your fellow men. And this you can see how it was being fulfilled in this history if you make an application. So in 2014, that's where we mark the establishment of a caliph, when Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi announced himself as a caliph. So you just go and watch that, The Secret Rites of ISIS. We have that documentary. If you need it, we can give you. So this is what is happening in this history. But remember, when America began to misbehave later, Saddam and Bin Laden, they are going to join Zarqawi now. They are going to try to work together, but it was too late. This guy is going to walk alone, trying to be more radical, and his follower Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is going to accomplish that mission that Zarqawi had begun with. So here now we have an establishment of ISIS. ISIS means Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. Now remember, when you come to this waymark, we have two key players, Amurath and Constantine. And if this is Rafia, I remember that we have many lines that show the battle of the king of the north, king of the north and king of the south. This is Daniel 11 verse 11 by application. A fulfillment of Daniel 11 verse 11, where we have the king of the south winning against the king of the north. And this is the history that we can see here. So here we had an alliance, a treaty. Before Constantine Decoces ascended the throne of Greece, he had to seek permission from Amurath as an Islamic state. So we also need to look at this one. Russia is intimately connected to Iraq, and if we were to see United States of America, we must see it seeking permission, or rather making an alliance with Russia in order to rule. And the individual that we are going to mark in this history is Donald Trump, and here we have Putin. And from the other lines, for example, the second, the line of pirates in Macedonia and World War II, we can make a very good application, which I think is in the public record. We have Trump before he ascended, before he became president. There is Russian interference in the US election. And that one you can begin dating it from 2014, where we have a secret alliance, or rather a secret meeting between Trump and Putin in Moscow. And whatever they discuss, we cannot tell, but other lines will tell us that they have a work to accomplish. And this is what was accomplished in 2016 election. And as we go throughout forward, this battle is concluded in November the 9th, 2019, where we have Russia under the administration of Vladimir Putin is going to win, is going to make Trump take the executive branch of the US government. So this is the alliance that we can see in this history. So as we go forward, we come to Paniam, that is 1453, which line us to 2021. So our mind, remember, in 2021, who is going to win this battle? United States of America is going to win, and Russia is going to do what? To lose. But remember, we equate Russia as an Islamic power in our generation. And in 2021, we have the conclusion of the Syrian war that began in 2011, and the key players, the Syrian proxy war, the key players are United States of America and Russia. So at the conclusion of this Syrian war, from other lines, the line of the Third Adoki War, we had the Nabateans, which we line it with Paniam 2021, and we say that in 2021 Islam is going to arrive, and I'm saying Islam is going to mark this escalating war between Russia and the United States of America when the king of the south is defeated. So our burden is to identify how does this arrival of Islam in 2021 look like, and the only way we can figure out the nature of this arrival of the radical Islam in 2021 is by looking at the history of Constantinople when the wall was brought down. So we need to identify how does this wall look like, because it is the wall, or rather Constantinople, That's where the seat of the empire was situated, which made it to be strong. So you need to realize what makes America to be strong in this history. I can say it is constitutional what? Republic. And I'm saying from other lines we realize that from Panium, or rather from 2021, America is coming down as what? As a lamp. It's ceasing to be a constitutional republic as it grows as what? As a dragon until at the Sunday law. And I'm saying when the subject of Islam arrived in 2021, it is a subject that is going to spark, rather it's going to orchestrate the rise of America, or rather the transition of America from a constitutional republic to what? To a dictatorial system of government. So, and this wall, when it fell down, we saw that the work of reformation really went forward. And I'm contending in saying that from Panium to Sunday law, we know it's the harvest of who? Of the Levites. So I don't know how this reformation is equated in our history, but I'm saying since this is the harvest of the Levites, the work of Islam is going to make an impetus work among the priests of this movement to do a very good job, to do a very good work in the harvest of who? Of the Levites. Just as in 1453, when Constantinople was brought down, the reformers in the 1260 years who were trying to do the work of reform, they were really helped a lot by the Turks. When we read Great Controversy, page 15, page 197. So this is what is going to happen in 2021. So I believe we are going to look at the lines. When you look at Luke 21, we are going to see this history. So 11 August 1840, as I explained, we have the restraint of Islam. And I'm saying Sunday law also, we are going to have a restraint of what? Of Islam. Islam here as attacked. But by the time we come to Sunday law, we are going to have this restraint. So our burden again is to ask, how will this attack look like? Because we say we are in the information age. And if we are information age, at least we can see a very terrible incident taking place in 2001. And I'm saying it's not a hot war. I don't believe it's a hot war. It's just attacked unexpectedly. So the same thing we must see in 2021. So I believe more light will be added as we go on, perhaps from 2020, because 2020 we believe it's what? It's Concord. So more light is going to be clarified how 2021 look like. And I want us to go back to our study and trying to figure out this history, because we know we have the individuals like FFA. They predicted that Islam is going to strike when? July 18, 2020. So as this movement, we need to have a very good model to understand how we predict 2021. And I believe they are very nice study that has been done by Elder Paminda in Tahiti. He's going to give us a very good structure how we come from 2011, the Arab Spring War that began in 2011, that is going to bring us to 2021. And it's going to take that model from the military history. And I think we are going to do that by adding more information. So I want to leave it there, continue studying. So I want us to look at this line, Balaam and Acts 27. Why am I saying Balaam and Acts 27? When you look at Acts 27, how many ships do we have? Two ships, the ship of Alexandria and the ship of Adramyttium. Which is the bad ship? Which is the good ship? Alexandria. So where do we mark the beginning, or rather the commencement of the bad ship? 1989. So who was Balaam? Let's go to Patrick and Prophet, page 439. Go and read the 40th chapter of Patrick and Prophets. The title is Balaam. So Balaam, at the beginning, was a good prophet. He was a good person, but he's going to misbehave. He's going to not follow the instruction that he was meant to do from the beginning. And Balaam, I'm going to say, is a symbol of the United States of America. So Patrick and Prophet, page 439, paragraph 2. It says, Balaam, are you there? Balaam was once a good man and a prophet of God, but he had what? Apostatized. and had given himself up to covetousness. Yet covetousness, what we say covetous prophetically is worldliness, right? It's about selfishness. Yet he still professed to be a servant of the Most High. He was not ignorant of God's work in behalf of Israel, and when the messengers announced their errand, he well knew that it was his duty to refuse the rewards of Balak and to dismiss the ambassadors. But he ventured to dally with temptation and urged the messengers to tarry with him that night, declaring that he could give no decided answer till he had asked counsel of the Lord. Balaam knew that his curse could not harm Israel. God was on their side, and so long as they were true to him, no adverse power of earth or hell could prevail against them. But his pride, remember, his pride was flattered by the words of the ambassadors. He whom thou blessed, it is blessed, and he whom thou cursed is cursed. The bribe of costly gifts and prospective exaltation excited his covetousness. He greedily accepted the offered treasures, and when, while professing strict obedience to the will of God, he tried to comply with the desires of Balak. What do we see from this quotation? Balak was once a good person, but later he changed to a bad person. And I'm saying, United States of America from the inception since 1798, it was a good nation. Sister tells us in the book Great Controversy, page 442, the principles that govern the United States of America is peaceful and liberal. It was a lamb-like, but later it's going to speak like what? A dragon. That is the character of Balaam. A good person is going to be what? A bad person. So from the line of Acts 27, and I'm saying Acts 27 is going to dictate us how we approach prophecy. And I'm saying that Balaam is going to be a symbol of which sheep? Adramitium is going to be a bad sheep. And where do we mark the commencement of Adramitium? 1989. So the reason why we went to Balaam especially, there is a symbol that we identify there, and that is a symbol of what? An ass. And ass is a symbol of an horse. And when we went to Genesis chapter 16 verse 12 and Genesis chapter 20 verse 21, verse 20 to 20, Genesis chapter 21 verse 20 to 21, it gives us the character of Islam is connected to an ass. So I want us to go, it's a very ass, I know time is over, remaining with 10 minutes, right? It's over? No? Alright. So I was to draw that line of, but let me remind us, I'm not focusing the sheep of Alexander, it's a good sheep. So what we begin 1989, then this is what? Caesarea, right? And then we have 9/11. This is Sidon. And then we have what? Which way mark do we have? After Sidon, this is 1989, 9/11. Which way mark do we have after here? Myra? Let me put midnight cry, right? Then we have Sunday law. We have 4 way marks. The ship of Alexander gives us 8 way marks. The ships of Adramitium always give us 4 way marks. So we have Caesarea, Sidon, and then we have what? Yeah? Cyprus. Joy, it is what? Here, after this is the ship of Adramitium, we have Caesarea, Sidon, and Cyprus, right? Right, thank you. Cyprus. And then here we have what? Myra, bitter, disappointment. So in the ship of Adramitium, keep it in mind, we always have 4 way marks. So if we are to bring this history of Balaam, symbol of the United States of America, is a bad sheep, and we mark it from 1989. So what is happening in this history? I want us to turn to a Bible, to the book of Numbers chapter 22, beginning from verse Numbers 22, beginning from verse 21. So we have read from the book Patriarch and Prophet, it has given us the nature of Balaam. Patriarch and Prophets, page 439, paragraph 2. It says, "And Balaam rose up in the morning and saddled his horse and went with the princes of Moab." So God is going to be angry with what the decision that Balaam is going to make. He wake up when? In the morning. So if Balaam is waking up in the morning, what has been previously happening? If we have morning, we must have what preceding? The night. So morning, I'm saying, what happened in the morning? There is what? Light, right? But before morning, we have the night. So what is this night prophetically in our day and age? Darkness. Which number is that? What do we mark night here? 1260? 126, amen. So here we have 126, which precedes 1999. So in the morning, Balaam is going to saddle an ass. So one of the tricky questions that now we need to look at, you see, I don't know how we're going to treat this one. You see, Balaam, he's just riding what? The ass. He's just connecting that ass from the beginning. He's just walking with the ass going forward. So you have to figure out how now is United States of America be connected with Islam throughout history. They have been having an interaction together. So hope Brother Amos told us about how we treat parables. There are some things just we make them worse. A noise. We don't expect the ass to speak, all right? If it violates the simple laws of nature, you know how you treat it. So I'm going to just to see how Balaam, a symbol of the United States of America, a bad sheep, is intimately connected with what? With the ass, Islam. Because we look at Sidon. What do we mark Sidon? In Acts 27, it is, we had refreshing, where, is it refreshing? Paul is told to refresh. And where do we mark a refreshing? 9/11, right? It's a message. So, let's go to Acts 27. Numbers 22, verse 21. "And Balaam rose up in the morning and saddled his ass and went with the princes of Moab." So they are going to curse God's people, isn't it? So remember, it has become a bad sheep. So it's going forward. And God's anger was kindled because he went. So he has become a false prophet. "And the angel of the Lord stood in the way for an adversary against him. Now he was riding upon his ass, and two his servants were with him." Verse 23. "And the ass saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way, and his sword drawn in his hand. And the ass turned aside out of the way and went into the field. And Balaam smote the ass to turn her into the way." So I'm saying we have the first strike here, where the ass changed its off course. And I'm saying this ass misbehaving, we can mark it at 2001, which our way mark, we can line it with Sidon. Let me just combine them. Sidon. So here we have the first strike. The ass turns the way. It distracts it distracts the mission of Balaam. Because if the ass turns the way, did Balaam feel well? No, he's going to be angry. So what makes Balaam angry is because the ass turned away. Did America become angry here in 2011 after the attack of American soil by the radical Islam? Yes. So this ass you can equate with this history, the rise of the Taliban or the Al-Qaeda in this history. So that's what we can mark here. So that is the first strike. This is Numbers 22. Numbers 22 verse 23. This morning, this is Numbers verse 21. We can check at that. So now we want to go to Cyprus, the midnight cry, the bad sheep. We continue. Verse 24 of Numbers 22, verse 24. It says, But the angel of the Lord stood in a path of the vineyards, a wall. So there's something which has been identified here, what? A wall. Remember, if we bring it here, we also see here what? A wall. And I'm saying the wall here, symbolically, it will be the Constitutional Republic of America. It's going now to be brought down. So we are going to have the second strike in this waymark, the midnight cry. And this is the Sunday law. So verse 24, but the angel of the Lord stood in a path of the vineyard, a wall being on this side and a wall on that side. And when the ass saw the angel of the Lord, she thrust herself unto the wall and crushed Balaam's foot against the wall and smote her again. So what is happening? The ass has misbehaved here to who? United States of America. So you can see this interaction between United States of America and Islam. So the second strike is going to happen where? 2021. So Balaam again strike the ass here. But interestingly is that when Balaam was thrashed down, where was it thrashed onto? The wall. And what happened to the foot of Balaam? Crash. So we have been given 1 foot, all right? Is that okay? We've been given 1 foot. I don't know the meaning why it was crushed with 1 foot. But I'm saying when the ass strike Balaam on the wall, it was really a very painful moment for Balaam. Here the ass has misbehaved, has misbehaved to the United States of America. When you come here again, the second strike, the ass now changed the model. It is striking where? On the wall. Here it did not strike on the wall, it just turned away. But here now it's going to do what? To crush his foot or where? On the wall. If we were to look at the symbol of the foot, what is the foot of symbol of? What is the foot symbol of? The gospel, right? The feet is the symbol of the gospel. And there's a couple of quotations from the pioneers which says that God planted America as a beacon of light to where? To the world. Is a good democratic nation which should to behave well. But I'm saying when this foot is crushed, because we know from Paniam to Sunday law, we have the transition from a lamb-like horn to what? A dragon, which is going to fully speak as a dragon where? At the Sunday law. So this is the second strike that we can see at midnight cry. Of course, right now we have many waymarks. We have the third Adoki War, which gives us Paniam. We have this line of 1453, which can speak us about Paniam. So you can see how now we need now to juggle with our mind to see the nature of 2021. Forget all those apostasy of July 18, 2020, which doesn't have a thread to tell us how it looked like. So we need to have confidence of what the lines are telling us. So let's go on. Which verse are we? 25. Let me repeat. And when the ass saw the angel of the Lord, she thrust herself unto the wall and crushed Balaam's foot against the wall and smote her again. So we have a strike again in 2021. That's midnight cry, as you have seen. Now let's go to verse 26. And the angel of the Lord went further and stood in a narrow place where was no way to turn, either to the right hand or to the left. So what is happening in this waymark we're going to see is that they have now come to a narrow path. You cannot turn on this side, nor can you turn on this side. What has happened to you? You have been restrained to do what? To move. You cannot move anymore because there's no place you can turn or rather you can turn there. So and that's what I'm saying. Because you have said here there's a restraint. In this line there's a restraint. Also here we must have what? A restraint. Verse 26. And the angel of the Lord went further and stood in a narrow place where was no way to turn, either to the right hand or to the left. This is verse 25. This is verse 26 onward. Let me repeat from verse 26 to 27. And the angel of the Lord went further and stood in a narrow place where was no way to turn either to the right hand or to the left. And when the ass saw the angel of the Lord, she fell down under the Balaam, and Balaam's anger was kindled, and smote the ass with a staff. So this striking that we see here is Israel now being restrained, just like these are other waymarks, because the ass cannot move any further. And there's another incident that is going to happen there, verse 28. And the Lord opened the mouth of the ass, and she said unto Balaam, What have I done unto thee, that thou hast smitten me these 3 times? And Balaam said unto the ass, Because thou hast mocked me, I will there were a sword in mine hand, for now I will kill thee. And the ass said unto Balaam, Am not I thine ass, upon which thou hast ridden ever since I was thine unto this day? Was I ever wont to do so unto thee? And he said, Nay. Then the Lord opened the eyes of Balaam, and he saw the angel of the Lord standing in the way, and his sword drawn in his hand, and he bowed down his head and fell flat on his face. And the angel of the Lord said unto him, Wherefore hast thou smitten thine ass 3 times? Behold, I went out to withstand thee, because thy way is perverse before me. So the reason why there is a reason here, America now is becoming more perverse. Balaam is becoming more perverse. This ship is really becoming badly, and is going to have a shipwreck at the Sunday law. So that is the basic illustration that we can have, the line between Balaam and Acts 27. And when you talk about Acts 27, you talk about the ship of Adramyttium. So we need to juggle our minds to understand how this history look like. So from the point we began looking at these studies, I believe that we are not going to finish our study at this point, but we are going to continue with the studies. So in our next lesson, we are going to look at Luke 21, the anger of the nation, which will bring us now to understanding of the Arab Spring War that began in 2011, that will lead us to 2021, a very good model. And we are going to go to the military history to see that perfect fulfillment in our time. My time is over. If you don't mind, we can bow down for the word of prayer. Dear Father in heaven, we thank you for your goodness and mercies, for this privilege that thou hast given unto us to gather here for the sake of studying your word. Lord, we pray, may you help us to have confidence in the lines that, Lord, you are teaching us. Those lines, Lord, that thou hast given to thy servants, the messengers of the hour, they are the thus said the Lord. May you help us, Lord, to have confidence in thy messengers. Let us not repeat the apostasies of Dathan, Korah, and Abiram in challenging thy leadership. We ask you, Father, as far as this congregation is concerned, may you help us, Lord, to be faithful, that those who may come behind us, the Levites, the Nethanims, may find us to be faithful till the end. We thank you for these meetings. We thank you for the blessings that was prepared for us. And in a very special way, Lord, we want to remember our brothers and sisters in different parts of the world field who are connected with this message. May you help us to be of one mind. And above all, may you send us the Holy Spirit to enlighten our mind and our conscience, that we may be rooted and grounded in truth as in you. And above all, may you help us to have an individual understanding of the truths that thou hast given unto us, that we may be settled down into truth both intellectually and spiritually. As we break, may Lord help us to continue contemplating upon thy word, is our prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.